I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but here's the thing.
Are you done?
Let's just talk about jumping the shark for a second.
Oh, secret squirrel.
That's a pretty intense reaction.
Are you done? I want to talk again.
Keep stabbing the TV screen.
You're one of the three fat guys.
Film crit Helk?
Pile of wank.
The unicorns and rainbows vision of the future.
Fuck a bag of everything, and I love all of you. And
broadcasting live from inside the quarantine zone, this is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies.
In this episode,
I'm your host.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, in this episode, literally nothing happens because Jarhigo isn't feeling well, and Chad and I decided to jump on and just do something a little bit different this week. We were going to talk about
nothing.
Corona for a minute, and we're going to just talk about some of our sort of favorite things of the week. And that's it. We have to put off our level 50 show.
Ooh, level 50. I like that.
Our 50th episode. Right? Our level 50 show extravaganza is going to be postponed. We're going to talk about Big Trouble in Little China, but we can't do that without Jarhigo because it's his favorite movie in the entire world. So we're going to wait until he gets better, and then we're going to tackle that. So we'll be talking about some other things today. Glad to have you all with us.
Yeah.
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 And we're back on the EBD podcast, and we're talking to Chad.
Howdy.
So what exactly did you want to do about this sort of helping people out, rebuilding kind of?
Yeah, I guess it's hard to think about anything other than this, and all anyone seems to be doing is obsessively checking the news and stuff. And while we understand and we're doing the same thing, like part of us doing the show is to put stuff out there that can help people take their minds off of stuff. But at the same time, something came up the other day that was like, oh, this is interesting. So wanted to kind of chuck it out there.
Totally.
So the super high level summary stuff is a family member reached out asking for advice on how to help, and I was confused as to why they would ask me, but they were saying, oh, your time in Haiti with the disaster, you had experience helping after a disaster, and I'm in, a place that's the epicenter, or at least was recently in the States, and what should I do? And that conversation was quite interesting, and I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective. And the result of the conversation kind of crystallized for me that, there's opportunity for us as a people, as a species, I suppose, to come together. And while that all sounds very kumbaya, and it all makes sense to think about how like everyone fighting the same thing on a species level is going to bring people together in a lot of ways, despite the horror show stuff. What does that mean and what does that look like is something that I have some experience with. So it was just kind of like talking to them about that, and it seems relevant. So
And tell me this, based on what happened in Haiti, or tell me what happened in Haiti in terms of, what you're talking about in terms of like rebuilding and helping.
So for those that may not know, I've touched on it a little bit here and there. I spent some time in Port-au-Prince after a big earthquake. There was a massive earthquake that likely killed hundreds of thousands of people. There's no final tally because of just how all over the place things were, but a very large portion of the population died in 60 seconds. And so it was a very major, major disaster. And the big organizations came in as they do, and the big governments and military stuff came in as they do. And that was all well and good, but me and a couple of friends saw a gap and started an organization that kind of helped connect dots. And so what that meant was you get on the ground, you help anyone in any way that you can. So like you literally go out and pass boxes in a line, and in the act of passing those boxes, you're talking to people and seeing firsthand where the needs of the moment are, and you can kind of go from that task to another task. And as a result of just like rolling up your sleeves and jumping in anywhere you can, you really get your finger on the pulse, and it can be quite fulfilling, and you can do a lot of good. And so there's a lot of vulnerable populations now with Corona, and there's really opportunity for people that maybe are at much lower risk, or maybe have recovered from the illness in a couple months' time, or whatever, to go out there and do something after feeling helpless for a long time. So it doesn't make a ton of sense to go on and on and on about like what happened in Haiti, other than like it was a different kind of disaster, but the big organizations can only do so much and can only move so fast. And like one of the key takeaways for me there was as a foreigner and not being super culturally aware in the sense of, only partially speaking the language and not having grown up there, there's only so much that I could do to help. And I always said to myself, like, if I go somewhere that I'm going to live the rest of my life or call home, I could 10x my effort by just jumping in there. And this is a huge opportunity, I think, for people to, to help their own local neighborhoods. And it sounds really straightforward. It sounds really obvious, but at the same time, like, it's hard to know what to do and how to go about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to talk about some sort of suggestions or ideas of how people could do that when we get to that point?
Sure. I mean, it's mostly just spitballing. So, like, I don't have any expertise with epidemiology or pandemics or, that kind of thing, but just to like think out loud. One of the populations that almost everybody knows is vulnerable are elderly populations. So there's some cool stuff I've seen of younger people jumping on social media and creating volunteer groups to deliver them food or, do whatever needs doing in terms of helping elderly locally. I saw a really cool idea, which might be a little too late for some people that are in full lockdown, but they just printed out a piece of paper that was like, hey, we're starting a WhatsApp group for our street. They just threw the piece of paper through the letter hole of everyone in their street. If you want to join up. And if you need something, hit us up. And as a street, we can all see what we can do to help each other out. I thought that was really, really clever. And then another thing that I saw with some people that I follow on Twitter is, the people that are immunosuppressed or, hopefully this is not a abrasive term, but like, people in various, alternatively abled or disabled communities are at really, really high risk regardless of age. And so helping them out as well. I think like the hardest part is just going to be the first step. So like if a person is in a place that goes out of lockdown and it's like, hey, everyone help out where you can, all it really means is like reaching out to any Facebook group, any Twitter group, any church group, any food pantry, anything, and just getting involved. And as a result of that initial activity, you'll meet people that are like, oh, I got this other thing going on, and you'll just go from thing to thing to thing, and it's amazingly fulfilling to do, and it's amazingly simple. It's just a matter of like the first thing, just going and doing that first thing. And so those vulnerable populations, or even just like everyone in your building or everyone on your street being in communication, can be like a great early step in that. And so I don't know how much people have been thinking about it, but
I kind of start at the smallest level, like the people immediately around you, neighbors, whatnot, right?
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's just some stuff that's been rattling around, and I have a little bit of experience, or I've been exposed to situations somewhat similar. So it's more just thinking out loud than me like saying this should be done, that should be done, just to be clear, And I'm perfectly happy to have a conversation with anyone that wants to chat about it. But, one of our listeners posted on Instagram like a 6 or 7 minute live video where he was just like, you normally come to me for the art that I make, but I just wanted to say, like, we're all in this together and it's going to be a shit show, but like, I don't even know you. I may not even know you, but I'm thinking of you, And I think that there's like a huge opportunity for kind of the community aspect of this to really benefit people. And once the doors start opening back up and people start being allowed to go out again, like, it's not just going to be going back to work. It's going to be like picking up the pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Picking up the pieces. Totally. There's going to be a lot of that. I think people are not really getting that part, that, it's just going to end one day. We're all going to be like, oh, okay, great. We're going to go to work tomorrow. It's like, no, there's a freaking going to be a humongous mess to clean up, and a lot of people that are going to need help as well.
Yeah, there's a huge opportunity there, even though it'll be coming out of a very negative, situation. What are your thoughts about the like starting small, kind of picking up the pieces kind of thing that I kind of verbally diarrheaed out?
In general, I think that starting small really is the key to doing things like that, whether it be helping people in the middle of a crisis like this, helping people pick up after a crisis like this, or even, in a normal kind of situation. I was reading something very interesting recently about city mayors having the latitude and the power to make sweeping changes in a localized area, but have a big impact on quite a few people, and how that's a great small place to start with some of these changes in the world that need to be made. And I'm not even talking about in a crisis situation. I'm just talking about in normal, everyday stuff. And it was a really interesting article, and I don't remember if I saved it or not. I'll look for it. But I found it interesting, and I think for the first time it really got me kind of thinking like, yeah, this is the way to affect change, is really on the smaller level and let it grow outward. Like, when you think about children, infants, seeds, they all start small and they grow outward. I think people tend to think like, oh, I got to do something big. It's like, but you don't start big. You start small and you let it, sort of ripple outward like a rock thrown into, like the rock thrown into the water.
Like the rock thrown into the middle of the WWE arena.
Exactly. So that's even better. I like that. So you start small and you let it ripple outward. If there's things that you're wanting to affect in terms of change, whether it's in a crisis situation or just in your day-to-day life, it's start with your local government, in your town, whatever kind of municipality you live in.
Yeah, or like Rotary or something,
Rotary, town government, you name it. But you can start even smaller than that. You can just start in your neighborhood and grow outward from there. So I think it's an incredibly powerful and incredibly important thing for people to think about. And, when we get to the rebuilding stage, or even now with people needing help, that's the way people can be most effective there.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Something that you mentioned a second ago really kind of stuck out, which is like, it's a combination of everyone wants to swing for the fences or everyone thinks that starting something is you need to swing for the fences. And a lot of people, myself included, from time to time, like are waiting for someone to come along and start things up, And, I think one of the key things for me coming out of this is wanting to like consistently say like, I'm not going to wait around for other people to do it. Like don't wait around, do it, do something, do whatever it is, just do it. If you have a thought, do it.
Exactly.
And to be super, super clear, when I say that, I mean, do everything that you can, or any idea that you have that doesn't, step on the toes of the actual experts in the scenario, like it's pretty important to say that, the lockdown thing is there for a reason. And while the decision making that's happening in a variety of places, in my view, probably isn't aggressive enough in terms of the lockdowns, like the lockdowns are really important.
Agree.
So like, I'm definitely not saying go out there and do stuff in a lockdown situation, but there are things that can be done inside your house on the beautiful thing called the interwebs, where, there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on. There's a lot of really interesting community building going on. I mean, even just the really super obvious thing is like, I'm getting a lot more messages from people I haven't heard from in a long time, and I'm sending a lot more messages to people I haven't spoken to in a long time, just seeing how they're doing.
Same here. Yeah, me too.
We're all doing it on a small level, and, we're all kind of like building that spider web of community around ourselves now that our worlds have kind of shrunk down to a single house size or an apartment size or whatever. But I guess like it's easy to get into a Netflix hole, but like there's plenty of opportunity to do other stuff that, maybe get you charged up, and not making you feel so drained.
Well, it has numerous benefits, taking your mind off your own problems, your own anxiety, if you have anxiety, which quite a few people do, and even the people that don't in a situation like this are going to have anxiety.
I've got it about this.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's a good thing to do that. And it's, there's nothing, one of the greatest things for the human spirit and soul is being selfless and helping other people, man, that need help.
Yeah.
It's a great remedy for a lot of things, folks.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's it. I just wanted to kind of share the conversation I had with my family member, and it may or may not be relevant, and I may or may not sound full of shit or preachy, but it's what I got to contribute.
I like it. It's really good. So maybe the thing to do would be to, we thought we would talk about the coronavirus a little bit, which we just did, and now we're going to just kind of do a show about nothing in the spirit of Seinfeld, I guess you could say, and Jerry in particular. This will be a show about nothing. So welcome to the blah.
And we just go silent, like have it actually be about nothing. Did you ever watch Rocko's Modern Life back in the day?
No, I didn't. I think I watched a little teeny bit of it, but
Dude, it's like one of the best cartoons in history.
I've heard that. There's a lot of really great cartoons that sort of came out after Ren and Stimpy that were kind of following their lead that were fantastic that I never really got into.
We've got to do like a cartoon episode or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was thinking, when we decided to get on the mic anyway and talk a little bit, we've been talking about kind of adding a little segment to the show where we just kind of, talk about like our favorite things from the week or whatever, a la like, our top 5 episode. And, 2 things I discovered this week. One of them was Ren and Stimpy. Now, I don't mean I discovered it. I started thinking about it. I was actually looking up something else for this show, and I found an interview with John Krafalski, and I was like, man, Ren and Stimpy, so good. And watching this interview with him, like, he was a really, really brilliant guy, and it was really brilliant the way he developed that show and what they did on that show. So of course, I had to run upstairs and make sure that I still had all of my Ren and Stimpy episodes on DVD, which I did, so I was relieved. And I was like, I'm going to have to watch those later. I did find a few on Daily Motion, so I watched some of those, and that's just such a brilliantly funny...
Such a weird show, dude.
...cartoon on so many levels, yeah. And I think that he really paved the way, here's the tie-in, for other cartoons like Rocko's Modern Life and... really all the way up to Archer, which is a huge favorite of mine. Like it sort of was like, I remember when the show got banned, and I don't think the show was ever truly intended for kids.
Nah, not really.
It was definitely intended for adults, and it was definitely part of the kind of adult cartoon front line, that was the beginning of that wave of, more adult-oriented cartoons certainly for our generation, and now for really every generation.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? 100%?
100%. I know what you mean.
100%? So, yeah, that was one of my sort of favorite discoveries of the week, or rediscoveries of the week.
I love Ren and Stimpy. I haven't seen Ren and Stimpy in a long time. I unfortunately read like a piece that was all about how much of a dickhead he was and sexually assaulting this, that, and the other, just like everyone else these fucking days. So it kind of was like, nah.
That's upsetting.
But
now you just bum me out.
As far as the art itself is, I know. I'm sorry. As far as the art itself is concerned, like it was quite remarkable at the time, and still like was just it's so fucking out there.
Oh my god, yeah,
so out there.
Just the painted backgrounds, all of that stuff. It was just super innovative and really, really cool. It was a lot of. I'm big on I always say this, levels of detail, because that's what really creates a great world. And I think the other thing too about Ren and Stimpy that was great was that it was like a bunch of creators creating something. It wasn't like a bunch of people that worked at a network going, let's come up with a cartoon. This was like a bunch of artists doing that.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of those. I feel like a lot of those shows caught that wave in the 90s. For whatever reason, people were just more willing to experiment, I guess, in the 90s in terms of like get money to do the stuff. Not that there was like I'm sure that in every single decade or generation, there's artists that are willing to experiment, but very rarely do they get funded, I suppose, for lack of a better way to put it. And the like Rocko's Modern Lives and Ren and Stimpy's and home movies and Toonami and, Cartoon Network. There's just so much stuff that happened in the 90s that was just...
Oh, my God, yeah. But I think that, it's like any new wave of anything. You're always going to have, a couple of pioneers that stick their neck out first. Like, the first couple of people through the wall always get bloody, and I don't know if it was specifically Ren and Stimpy, but they were definitely in that first wave, of kind of like making something different in terms of cartoons. Like I've got my daughter watching Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, okay? Because it's on Disney Plus. Now she was watching Spider-Verse, but I was like, this is too it's too much, too violent, whatever. But Spidey and his amazing friends, it's a pretty vanilla cartoon. It's a pretty vanilla.
Is that the old school one?
Yeah, oh yeah, with Iceman and Firestar, and it's very
the one that the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme comes from.
I believe so. Yes. So it's super vanilla. It's not like crazy violent or anything like that. And the point of bringing that up was that that's what we used to have. Like that's the way the cartoons were. It was like, okay, how can we make this cartoon for kids? Da 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 da. And I think these guys like Ren and Stimpy and some of those first other shows were no. Let's make something that's funny that can entertain people like myself. Like why not?
It kind of has that South Park thing where those dudes from South Park were like, we just made a show to make each other laugh, and it turned into its own thing. And you kind of get that vibe with like a Ren and Stimpy as well. They're making it for themselves, and everyone else jived with it.
Oh my God. Absolutely. And South Park was definitely a pioneer in that respect. So was The Simpsons, in the late 80s. And,
Simpsons for sure. South Park, I've a little bit like, I'm kind of not really into South Park or the Family Guy as much anymore. But at the same time, like it had its moment for sure. I would argue that it was maybe more second wave, though.
Well, it might have been. I'm just saying that it was definitely in, more in the beginning. I'm not a South Park fan at all. I never have been. It's too much toilet humor, too dumb. Like I just couldn't get into it. And some of the voices really irritated me. So, and the style I thought was very weird, So I never got into it, man. I was always interested in other things. The Simpsons in particular.
Old school Simpsons, like early, like when like Conan and all those dudes were writing, all those people were writing for it. It's just some classic stuff.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, my favorite stuff still is the John Swartzwelder years. Swartzwelder is sort of this kind of Simpsons legend, and he still writes books. But Swartzwelder still holds the record for writing the most episodes. He was there for the first, I want to say, like 15 seasons.
Mm-mm.
So for me, I mean, I'll watch The Simpsons on Disney Plus. I don't watch anything past season 15.
I didn't realize they were on Disney Plus. Oh man.
Yeah, because Disney bought Fox.
Yeah, dude. My quarantine situation. Delete everything I said about the virus. I'm watching Simpsons.
Yeah, forget about that. We're not doing any of that stuff.
Forget about helping the community. I'm just watching all the Simpsons.
We're not helping people out. Chad's gonna watch The Simpsons.
I'll come up for air later. See you guys. Okay, bye.
No, I have. That's what I've been doing is watching The Simpsons when I have a free moment and I'm not watching content for the show.
The 2 minutes a day where you aren't either taking care of your obligations as a member of a family or watching the shit we need to watch for the show.
Pretty much, yeah. That's where I'm at.
I watch 2 minutes of Simpsons a day.
I'll sneak in a Simpsons video like before I go to bed or as I'm going to sleep, which means I watch about 5 minutes and then I pass out.
And then just dream about weird Simpsons stuff. You dream about the weird peyote chili pepper fox episode over and over again.
There you go. The insanity pepper, the Guatemalan insanity pepper.
Classic.
Yeah, no, totally classic. That's the one with Johnny Cash.
So 40 minutes ago when I asked if you'd seen Rocko's Modern Life, the reason I brought it up was when you said a show about nothing and then there was silence. There's a legendary couple of episodes where the Rocko's neighbor. This is definitely going to be like where someone retells you a whole thing and you're like, yeah, cool, had to be there. But anyways.
Go for it. Now I want to hear it even more. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Rocko's neighbors are the Big Heads, Ed and Bev Bighead, and they have a son. And like the Big Heads are just such fucking weirdos. And their son wants to be an artist, and so like the dad's all corporate and disowns the son who goes off to be an artist and makes this show that's really popular that all of Rocko and his buddies like. And at some point, the son comes home and he's disillusioned with, the Hollywood kind of thing, and he wants to destroy his show.
Mm.
And so, like, Rocko and his buddies are so starstruck when he comes home for the holidays that they're, like, drooling fanboys. And the guy's just like, I'm going to hire these guys so they can ruin the show, and then I'll get fired and I can just go and live in a desert island somewhere. and so they put Rocko and his buddies in charge of the show, and they just fuck it up so bad. But every time they fuck it up, like the news media is like, genius, like, and so one of the shows,
totally,
like like the film stock like catches on fire, and so the show is like 20 minutes of silence, and they're like, it's the best thing that's ever been created in art media, you know, like it's just super funny.
Totally.
And so our show about nothing should have just been 15 minutes of silence, and the critics would have swooned at our geniusness. That was why I brought it up.
Exactly. It would have been called avant-garde. They would have called us auteurs.
Yeah. I very highly recommend Rocko's Modern Life, dude. It's so good. I don't even know if it's available, but it's worth checking out.
And folks, please enjoy this next 20 minutes of silence. Yeah, I got to check that out. That's good. I found some Ren and Stimpy episodes on Daily Motion. The quality of the video itself, the quality was good, but the framing, just I think because of the scaling.
Oh, okay.
Certainly on my phone, it kind of cut the bottom half of the screen off, but it was still great to be able to watch those, man. They're super great. So yeah, you might be able to find Rocko's out there somewhere. I need to check out a couple episodes of that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I think it's similar to Ren and Stimpy in the sense that like the nostalgia for it is legendary, and that there are like certain episodes that are legendary. But if you actually dig into it, like you're just kind of like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. But then every once in a while, one just hits you in the right place, you know?
Absolutely, 100%.
100%. I didn't realize how much I said that.
100%. I can't. I love that you say it. Now I can't stop doing it.
It's all right.
Oh my god. So there's plenty of things to talk about. I can tell you that in terms of media and things for people to check out. I want to. If you're done with.
Are you done?
The Rocko's bit.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
Are you done? Are you done?
Are you done? I want to talk again.
Pretty much, yeah. One of the other little things that I wanted to share with everybody was obviously we did Chronicles of Riddick last week. Great movie, great episode, and we extensively talked about Colm Feore in that episode. And I have had a movie in my Netflix queue for a while that stars him, and it's called Bon Cop, Bad Cop. And I decided to check out that movie this week. I really, as we've indicated before, we spend a lot of time of our free time is watching content that's related to the podcast. So I don't have a ton of time to watch stuff that I actually want to watch, like Ozark, which is on Netflix with Jason Bateman. Season 3 just dropped on Friday. And this is just a quick aside. If anybody hasn't watched Ozark, and we may possibly have to do a show about it, it is excellent. Jason Bateman is one of the creators. He directs a lot of the episodes. He stars in the show. It's got some fantastic actors in it. Great story. Check that out. Season 3 just dropped on Friday. But when we were talking about Colm Feore, I had Bon Cop, Bad Cop in my Netflix queue, as I've mentioned before. And I decided to check it out this week because I really just wanted to watch something different and something that was not related to the podcast. So I watched it, and it is a brilliant Canadian buddy cop movie.
When was it made?
Just really excellent. 2006.
Okay.
It stars Colm Feore and Patrick Huard, who is a French-Canadian actor. He wrote the movie as well. And it's about a cop from Ontario, Toronto, that teams up with a cop from Montreal, Quebec.
Okay. A Montreal buddy cop movie? That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It seems kind of like whatever, but it's as good as any other buddy cop movie you've ever seen. And you've never seen one like this because they, one of them, is obviously they both speak French and English. But there's a whole interplay during the entire film of them switching back and forth between French and English. And I know Ben personally would hate it because there's like, they'll speak in French and there'll be subtitles, and then they'll speak in English, and you can hear it. So it's this constant back and forth. You really have to be paying attention. But it's a really excellent film. It's an excellent movie with Colm Feore, who we talked about in Riddick again. So I encourage everybody to check that out. Really, really good. And funny too.
I like it. I think we just hit on what to do if and when Bennie ever can't make it on a show. Is we should have a couple of subtitled movies in the bank so we could talk about them, because he won't want to talk about them anyways.
And he won't care.
Yeah, he'll be like, "Fuck it, yeah, great, happy to miss that one." On Ozark, whether this makes it into the show or not, like you mentioned Ozark in another episode, and I've watched it, and I gotta say, like, I wasn't like super pumped on it. Like, it wasn't bad, but
really,
what do you?
Wow,
I just was like, I don't know. I just kind of,
I just thought it was meh.
kind of. I think my biggest frustration with it is it's just like the dude's just constantly fucking telling people the secret over and over and over again. It's just like, why would you do that? You wouldn't do that.
You mean the secret about him being sort of involved with the drug dealers?
Yeah, the money laundering stuff. Like he just is constantly like, yeah, so I launder money for the cartels, so I just don't tell anybody. It's like he tells like 70 people. It's like if you're gonna tell everybody, then it's gonna get out there, dude. Like keep your fucking mouth shut, bro.
Huh.
I don't know. I was just always confused about that.
All right, you know what? I'm with you on that, and I'm gonna go back and watch because I was just talking about this with my wife. I'm gonna watch season 1, season 2 before I watch season 3. I want to just kind of brush up. It's something that we've done. We did that with Better Call Saul. We've done that with a couple of series. So
because I'm one episode into season 2. I watched all of season 1, and I was like, okay, yeah, I get it, but I was just kind of like. The thing that kept falling over for me is he like kept telling people.
You're telling too many people.
It's like, dude, if you're fucking laundering money for the cartels, like you're not gonna fucking tell anybody.
Yeah.
But he's just he'll like keep it secret. He'll be like, oh, secret squirrel. I can't tell my whatever. And then like 5 minutes later, he's like, oh, I knew I wasn't gonna say anything, but check this out. So it turns out,
yeah.
He's like, all right,
yeah. So, by the way, now look, I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. No, listen.
I don't know. It's got high production values and stuff. Like I dug it, but
when I rewatch it, I'm gonna keep a special eye out for that in particular,
okay.
And then we can revisit this on a later show. But I'm gonna go down a little. I want to talk about. I guess it's a cul-de-sac from Ozark.
There's a cul-de-sac every 1.5 minutes.
Did you like that?
I got a good kick out of that, man.
Okay. So let's just talk about jumping the shark for a second, specifically to what you just said. Now, there's a show that I absolutely think jumped the shark for me because of that exact reason. And that show is Arrow on the CW network. Now,
what's Arrow?
Okay, Arrow is basically Green Arrow. So the CW, like the thing that's interesting about Marvel and DC is that Marvel made all these movies, right? And they made a bunch of shows as well. The movies did amazingly well, and the shows are good, but DC Comics has done a few movies that, everybody is sort of like, I would say undecided on. There's not a lot of continuity there in terms of quality and so forth, and the films are very different in the DC universe. But the TV DC universe is actually really good.
Oh, really?
And it's really well done, and they have all of these different shows, and they're all interconnected. And they're doing like crossovers all the time, and they'll do crossover events. So you've got Arrow, which is basically Green Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, which is like a sort of super team up of a bunch of them. And there's even more now. And Arrow in particular was the first one, and it's on season 8.
Holy
but
shit.
They really do. Yeah, they do a really good job of, like, the production values are good for TV, for superhero stuff. It's great. And I mean, this is like, we could talk about this at length, so I'm not going to go fully down that cul-de-sac, certainly not into the sewer drain. But what I wanted to mention was that Arrow for me kind of jumped the shark because of what you just said. Like in season 4, it was like, first nobody knew that he was the Green Arrow, and then it felt like he was doing that all the time in like seasons, like the end of season 3 and into season 4, was that he was going, well, I gotta tell you something. I'm the Green Arrow.
Turns out.
It was like, yeah, exactly. So he basically started having the same secret conversation with everybody, and then all of a sudden everybody knows that he's Green Arrow. And then the next thing, the reason why I think the show jumped the shark was that like everybody became a superhero. Like all of his friends, like, one of them went through some trauma, and she's like, all right, well, I'm going to take some boxing classes. And then the next thing you know, she's wearing a skin-tight leather suit, and she's out on the street fighting crime. I was just like, this is just ridiculous, man. So it was a very similar thing to Ozark, where, it was like, hey, you know what? I don't normally tell people this, but I'm a money laundering superhero and you work for the cartels, dude.
Yeah, I don't normally tell people about this, but it turns out I made a list and you're the only person I haven't told. So strap in.
Exactly.
I was on the Marvel TV show thing, man. Like, I feel you, dude. I have not connected with a Marvel TV show, really.
Mm.
I haven't watched a ton of them, but they're kind of shithouse. I'm glad to hear that the DC ones are doing better.
Well, the DC one, it's funny, man, because when you have conversations about Marvel and DC, the conversation, it seems to be sort of an accepted general knowledge that DC always had the better writing in the comics, and the stories were much more cerebral and dark and tended to explore more adult themes, whereas Marvel Comics was a lot more fluffy. And, that's what I was drawn to as a younger person. So the irony here is that the Marvel TV shows are really intense and really dark. And the DCU television situation is much more lighter and fluffier. Like they still tackle a lot of interesting stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely it's lighter and it's fair.
I think I was on like a JetBlue flight, where you only get the satellite television, you don't get
right.
You're not able to pick what you want to watch. You're just like flipping through the same bullshit TV.
You're strapped into a chair,
yeah, and you're locked in with. You're one of the three fat guys, and you're surrounded by fat guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, I watched The Flash. I'd never seen The Flash before, and I watched The Flash show. Like, I don't know, 3 or 4 episodes, and like I wanted to take my like JetBlue fucking cutlery set and just stick it in my eyes and just jam my head on the fucking seat back in front of me. Like I couldn't handle it. So
that's a pretty intense reaction.
It was just like the worst thing I'd rather become a brony, I think, than watch that fucking show. Like, I don't know.
Wow. You think you didn't like it? You thought it was that bad, huh?
I just didn't dig it, man. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was trapped at 30,000 feet and had nothing else. And so like I was a bit taking my angst out on the show, but I just wasn't digging it.
Excuse me, stewardess. This passenger keeps stabbing the TV screen with his cutlery.
He's currently got a JetBlue fork in his eye. Also, can I have another bag of those Terra Blues? Thanks.
Yeah, and some more peanuts, too.
And some more blue peanuts.
I think that I thought that the shows were good. I mean, you have to have your bar set right, like you can't.
We've clearly figured out in this show that my bar is in the fucking
way
stratosphere.
Too high.
My bar is at 30,000 feet, and it couldn't even clear the fucking bar when we were up that high.
Yeah, exactly. Because you just mentioned that in the Expanse episode.
Oh, dude.
Wait, you know what? Hold on. Hold that thought. I need to run to the restroom. The restroom in my house. Yeah. There's a sign on the outside that says men. Women.
I want to put like an airplane sound on.
Oh, do it.
Like an airplane cabin.
You know what? I have from one of the other shows that I do. I have like an interior airplane sound.
Let's just put it on the whole time. Like the show is actually just us sitting next to each other, loudly talking on an airplane, driving everyone around us crazy.
Totally. All right, hang on one sec.
So, anyways, Ren and Stimpy.
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're back.
So let's see. I talked about Bon Cop, Bad Cop. We talked about I mentioned Ozark.
I've got one.
Oh, I know what I wanted to say. I'm going to tell you why I think Ozark is great.
Okay.
I think the production values are great. They do a really good job of keeping the tension ratcheted and held in place. And it's got a similar vibe or there's a similar concept to Breaking Bad in the sense of a guy who's kind of a regular guy and he's forced into really becoming a full-on criminal. And watching the descent into that and also from the point of view of a family man who's forced to make decisions to save his own family and to save himself. So those things are what I really like about it. And yeah, sure, they're working for the cartels from the get-go, but he's so removed from it, being in an office and running numbers and all of that sort of thing. I don't think it really becomes real for him until
Until it becomes really fucking real.
until it becomes really real, and they find out that those guys are skimming the cash.
Right.
And then it becomes very, very painfully real, and he has to do something real. So that's what I like about it. It's a really good show. I'm a huge Jason Bateman fan.
Yeah, he's great.
I kind of have been since I was a kid, and like he just pumps out some really great performances and some really great content, and I'm kind of just in love with him right now. He's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk about a guy I'd love to work with. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, as far as me being like, it's definitely worth checking out. Like it's a very well done show.
Yeah, absolutely. So check that out. But the disclaimer is this: be on the lookout for him secretly telling everybody that he's a cartel money launderer. Because I'm definitely going to be watching that the next time.
Yep.
What about you? Any interesting things you came across this week in terms of content that folks at home can check out?
Yeah, dude, I got one. Have you ever heard of Film Crit Hulk?
Film Crit Hulk?
Hulk.
Film Crit Hulk. No.
I think I mentioned it to you a little bit offline, but there's a dude who I think is a film critic by trade and wanted to take the piss a bit and created a Twitter handle for if the Incredible Hulk was a film critic. And so like it started off really like all caps, him, Hulk smash, talking shit about movies and stuff. It's been about a decade. He's been doing it for a decade, and it's turned into like really intelligent writing on cinema and like really long form stuff.
Ooh, interesting.
Like the stuff is really, really good. And for years he was doing like, he would always write in all caps, so just be this wall of all caps text, but super thoughtful. And more recently, he's kind of gone away from the all caps stuff, but still writes really amazing stuff. And he just started a YouTube channel. And his first video is called Why It Works Star Wars, and it's essentially like everyone always makes these videos or writes these things about what sucks about Star Wars, and he basically just did like a scene for scene homage to what makes the original Star Wars Episode 4 great, and it's like an hour long, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Ooh.
Like just fantastic video, and I very highly recommend it.
I like that, man. All right, let's link that up in the show notes, man.
Yeah, dude, I would like. It's worth making the time for it at 1.5 speed. It's really good.
At 1.5 speed, I love that how you threw that in there at the end.
I just had to just chirp that out. But yeah, no, it's really good.
Just gotta get that in there. Yeah, no, I would love to check that out. That sounds interesting because you're right. It is. It's always. I mean, even including us, it's like we're not even allowed to. We're not even allowed to talk about Star Wars without incurring an insta death. So, it'd be great to see something that's like positive about Star Trek. Star Wars. Wow, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is working there, and people don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, very interested to check that out. I also, speaking of Star Trek, I came across in my Google feed, because on Android you get like an automatic kind of Google news feed if you swipe to the left of your home screen.
Cool feature, bro.
Yeah, kind of. The cool thing, it's mostly shit I don't want to read about. Some of it is.
Yeah, Apple News is the same. It's a pile of wank.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the top article on the feed yesterday was an article about Picard.
Haven't seen that yet.
And I haven't either, and I still have CBS All Access for like another 2 weeks or something, so I think I'm going to take the time to watch it. But it says Star Trek Picard is the dark reboot that boldly goes where nobody wanted it to.
Yeah, I've heard some mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, and I read the article, and it's basically that. I mean, it's actually a very interesting article, but I'll link that up for the show notes as well.
If anybody out there's seen it, let us know what you think about it, because I'm curious. Yeah,
absolutely, man. Chime in. It's that's from the Guardian too. It's not like it's from
Ain't It Cool News or something.
Like the Guardian's a pretty well respected news outlet, So
yeah.
At any rate, check that out. We'll link it up in the show notes. It's an interesting article about what Star Trek, the message of Star Trek, certainly what it was back in the 60s. And is it too dark now, or is it just a reflection of the times? And is that okay? Or, a lot of the fans are pissed because it's not the unicorns and rainbows vision of the future that it has been for so long,
Yeah, cool. I wanted to chuck another one out there. There's this YouTube channel called The Juice Media, and I don't know when they started, but they make like fake government advertisements. And they're just fucking hilarious.
I like it.
It kind of caught my attention during all of the wildfires in Australia recently over east.
Mm-hmm.
And they did like an honest government ad about the fires where it's just like, we don't give a fuck about you. And they just did one on the coronavirus that I'm going to send to you.
Oh, wait, are you talking about that YouTube channel? It's like a couple of Aussies or a couple of dudes from the UK, and they do like if phone companies were honest, like.
Oh, it's kind of like that, but I think it's an Aussie channel.
Okay.
And it's just like this like one woman actor, or it looks like there's actually a variety of women actors that all wear the same outfit. But I'm gonna send this to you now, and I want you to watch it because it might be funny. It might be a good segment. It's only 3 minutes long.
Oh wait, are you encouraging me to Kev right now? Is that what you're saying?
I'm gonna While you watch this, I'm going to pick a random IMDb entry and read it in a robotic voice.
Did you like how I did the intro to the Chronicles of Riddick?
Oh, is that what that was? I was like, what? I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but okay.
I don't know. I guess just like all the talk about the IMDb thing and the auto-tune thing and then the robots. Like I was like, I'm just going to read this like this. Or not read it like that. I'm going to say it like that.
Right. Okay, that makes way more sense. I was super confused, but I just rolled with it.
I was super confused. I never know what you're going to do.
Well, especially with your fucking poop knife segment.
The toilet spoon?
Oh my god. Did you get that WhatsApp message?
I did, yeah.
All right, watch that shit, and I'll shut up. I'll watch it too.
Hello, I'm from the government with an urgent message about.
Anyways, I just thought that you would find that funny, and like I
find it hysterical.
I just love these guys' videos. They just take like horror show situations and make it really funny. People should check it out just to kind of put a bow on the Corona conversation from earlier.
I like that. Nice pick, man.
Thanks.
So I just had one more thing I wanted to talk about, and then we can wrap it up. I have no problem promoting another podcast on this show, as we have done already. There are new Empty Bowl episodes for all of you folks out there that are serial fans or just need something relaxing to listen to.
In fact, you want something to take your mind off of coronavirus, this is the podcast for you.
Definitely. Yeah, listen to The Empty Bowl. It's very relaxing. And, I mean, who doesn't love to listen to cereal? Even if you don't eat it like us, it's wonderful. So check that out. A couple of new episodes there. Also, there's a company out there called Wondery that produces a lot of really interesting podcasts. A lot of them are, I would say, not exactly true crime. Some of them are true crime. Some of them are not necessarily crime related, but they talk about real things. So I would recommend anything from Wondery. I've listened to a couple of their programs, and they're really good. They had one on WeWork called WeCrashed. It was about a six.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, it was about
That's such a shit show company.
Oh, totally, man. But it's such a it's a 6-part series about how that whole thing fell apart, and it's really good, and you ought to check it out if you're interested in that. And if you really want to make it interesting, this is just a suggestion for the folks out there, go listen to the WeWork episode with Miguel McKelvey on How I Built This with Guy Raz. That's an NPR podcast. Listen to that first, and then listen to WeCrashed on Wondery, and you will get two very different opposing views of that company. Very interesting stuff. So that's my last sort of nidbit of the week.
I like it. I've got a serious obsession with like the tech community and the VC world and stuff, so that's right up my alley.
Absolutely. It's a really interesting commentary on that topic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, check it out.
Will do, man. I'll check that out for sure.
That's all I got, man.
That's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that.
And we took good care of old Tommy and his wife while they were over here. That was a good news story.
Wait, what?
When Tom Hanks got coronavirus, he was in Australia, and we gave him a test, and we gave him a nice room, and he had a nice time.
Big fan of the Tom, man.
Yeah, man.
I have been since bosom buddies. You know, what can I say?
Dude, he's the man.
He is the man. So, best to Tom Hanks and his family. Thank you, Australia.
Thanks, Australia.
And now I'm gonna go watch Toy Story.
Dude, having a kid, my lord, I've watched Toy Story a million times. Toy Story 3 is a really good movie.
Dude,
Toy Story 3 is the best Toy Story, I reckon.
we just watched it the other day, and that was the one that I actually watched most of with them. And like, I almost started.
Dude, it's so good.
Well, firstly, it's super dark, and secondly, it's really touching. Like, I almost started crying when he was talking about being abandoned, and then the girl getting the new bear. I was like, oh my god, man.
Dude, the end scene where the kid's going off to college, like, I was blubbering like a bitch, dude. I was crying so hard. And like, I was watching it with my kid, you know, and it was like kid's like 1 year old in the crook of my arm, and I'm like kissing him on the head, being like, you're gonna get old and you're gonna move away, and you know, it's so funny.
Oh my god, I love it.
It's like the sappiest shit ever, but whatever. I'm not ashamed.
Hey man, it's sappy, but it's real, folks. It's real.
Yeah, totally.
No, I'm with you 100% on that, man. Whoa, I just did it without thinking about it.
Oh, you did.
It is. That's a really, I was watching that and I was like, man, this is a tad darker than the other Toy Story films.
Yeah, but it's good, man. I think it's a really...
No, I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying it's not good.
Like, in terms of, like, actual filmmaking and, like, storytelling, like, they did a great job. It really, like, really goes everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, you want to put a bow on this?
Yeah, man. I give this whole situation a 1.2.
Yeah, I give it a 1.3, so I'm higher than you as usual, but not by a large margin.
Fuck a bag of everything, and I love all of you, and hopefully everyone's good.
Yeah, we love all of you, and Jarhigo sends his best. He wasn't feeling so great today. I don't think it's COVID-19 related, but we are checking on him. So everybody just stay safe. We're going to keep putting out content for everybody to check out, and that's it.
And we're around if you want to talk too, man. Hit us up on the Facebook or
God, please, yes.
Grams or wherever, man. We'd love to hear from you, hear about what's going on, hear about shit you want us to talk about. Whatever, man. We're here.
Did you just say the grams?
The grams, dude.
Oh my god.
I'll be doing TikToks all week. All day.
You and me all day.
Big muscles.
Hard muscles.
If you don't get that reference, guys, it's the Kids in the Hall brain candy. And if you've never heard of it, you need to watch it. And if you have heard of it, that's why you're listening to this show.
Exactly. That is it right there. You just summed it up right there. So, yeah. So again, Chad and I will be doing TikTok videos all week. Be sure to follow us on TikTok.
I wish I was TikTok savvy. I'm not an 11-year-old girl, so I have no idea how to use it.
I'm gonna have my daughter teach me how to use it so we can do it.
You can do TikToks. I love it.
I did a TikTok with her one night. She asked if she said, "Mom, will you do a TikTok with me?" And my wife was like, "No," and I was like, "Dude, I'll totally do that." And we got a lot of views, man. She was psyched.
That's funny. Oh, I'm so old.
Yeah, you are. Folks, thanks again for joining us, and we will, as always, see you on another time.
See yous.
Folks, thanks for tuning in with us this week for this somewhat different episode of the show. We're going to be getting back to the mayhem as soon as we can, and as soon as Jarhigo is in excellent health. And everybody out there knows how to get in touch with us on social media and email and so forth. We mention it at the end of every episode, and I'm sure nobody listens to it, so I'm not going to mention it this time. But I just wanted to say that we really do appreciate everybody tuning in and supporting the show. It means the world to us. And we love doing this show every single week. It's a lot of fun for us. And if you'd like to support us, there's a couple of great ways you can do that. You can rate us and review us and subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, wherever you get your podcast muffins, whatever. And you can also tell somebody about the show. Word of mouth is the most powerful method of growing the show. Thanks again so much. We'll see you next time.
Big muscles! Hard muscles!